All right, so we are live on YouTube. We're going to be covering recursion today with Python. So like usual, we are going through the Boot.dev series, of course. Learn in Python, and then we're probably going to transition to Go maybe a month or two later from now. Who knows? I don't know my timeline. But yeah, today we'll probably spend about an hour and a half learning this, and then I gotta switch over to working on some other stuff. But I'm gonna go ahead and post this in Discord like usual. There will be no music on YouTube, and there will be music on Twitch. I gotta post another announcement because we're gonna be doing a community goal too. All right, so I'm live on Twitch and YouTube. Working on recursion with Python today. Then I'm going to work on the Nest.js course a little bit later. Also, we're not quite hitting. Also here. So today, for the next 30 days, I'm launching a community-wide challenge where you can donate the points that you've earned on Twitch into a pot, and if we hit 250,000 points, we're going to do a community-wide portfolio and resume review stream. You can donate your points to that pool if you wish. Looks good. All right, let's do that. Publish. All right, now I gotta activate the points thing. I have the link. There we go. It has been started. 30 days left, 250,000. All right, I think we're good. Let's jump in. Looks like we have a video. All right, so recursion is famously tricky concept to grasp, but it's honestly quite simple. Don't let it intimidate you. A recursive function is just a function that calls itself. Recursion is a process of defining something in terms of itself. All right, let's go ahead and shut off the music, and we're going to play it.
Recursion is a word used to strike fear into the hearts of new programmers. It's a simple concept that just takes a second to learn how to use properly. Recursion is just when a function calls itself. Now, that might sound fairly straightforward, and it is, but it is one of the hardest concepts for new developers to learn. So don't beat yourself up if it takes just a little extra practice and a few more examples before you fully understand what's going on. Let's take a look at this simple example. We've got a function called countdown, and it takes as input n, an integer. First, it just prints n. after it prints n, it calls itself again, but only after subtracting 1 from n. So what happens if we call countdown and pass in 5 as n? Well, first, 5 is printed to the console. Then countdown is called again, but this time with n-1, or 5 minus 1, which is 4. So we go back to the top of the function. Now we'll print n, which is 4. Call countdown again, this time with 3. And on forever. So we've figured out the recursive part, but the problem is this function will never stop.
I can't stop.
It will keep calling countdown over and over and over, decrementing by 1 every time, even into the negatives. Countdown with -1, -2, -3. So what we need is a base case to stop the recursive madness. Let's add an if statement to the top of the countdown function. If n is less than or equal to 0, instead of printing n and recursing again with n-1, we'll just print the word blast off to the console and return immediately, again stopping the recursion. So what happens now if we call countdown with n of 5? First, 5 is printed, then we call countdown again, and that's because 5 is greater than 0, so we're not going to trigger that base case. Next, countdown is called with an n of 4. Again, we're skipping the base case because n is greater than 0, 4 is printed to the console. This continues all the way down until n is less than or equal to 0. So when n is 0, we'll enter that if statement, print blast off, and then return. And because we're returning, there will be no more recursive calls to the countdown function. So the final result is that when we call countdown of 5, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, blast off is printed to the console. Now let's take a look at one more example. Let's say we want to write a function called dict_depth that returns the depth of an arbitrarily nested dictionary. For example, this dictionary only has a depth of 1. It has 2 key value pairs, but there's no nested dictionaries within it. But if you take a look at this dictionary, it has 3 nested levels. Melee weapons corresponds to a second dictionary, which has the key stabbies, which corresponds to another nested dictionary, a total of 3 levels. Now, because the dictionary passed into our function can be arbitrarily deep, recursion is a really good fit for this problem. So let's figure out what our function signature should be. We'll define the new function, we'll call it dict_depth, and we'll pass in 2 parameters, d, the dictionary itself, and then max depth so far, which is just going to keep track of how far into the nested dictionary we are at each level of recursion. Now this time, let's start with the base case, just so we have a different way of approaching this problem. And our base case should be when there's no more dictionaries to recurse into. So if d is not a valid dictionary, for example, if it's just a number, like the number that corresponds with the Bose key, 6, then we're going to stop recursing. So we'll just add this if statement.
Hold on, if not is instance or not dictionary. I wonder what it means by instance of. I almost think like is instance. So I get like, actually, what does this mean? Oops, I skipped ahead. Do that again.
Approaching this problem. And our base case should be when there's no more dictionaries to recurse into. So if d is not a valid dictionary,
return true if the object argument is an instance of the class info argument. Or if a direct, indirect, virtual subclass thereof. If object is not an object of the given type, the function always returns false. Class info is a tuple of type objects. Recursively, other such tuples are a union type of multiple types. Return true. Object and class info. Okay. If D, the object, is an instance of class info, so this is how we're checking for a type. we're literally just looking for a type. This isn't something custom. This is a dictionary type of Python. And so is D a dictionary or not? Okay, that makes sense.
Dictionary, for example, if it's just a number.
Or if D doesn't exist. Okay, that makes sense. Let me catch up real quick. I am not ready for recursion. After all my years of programming, I never touched it. And again, I didn't finish college due to it closing. Gotcha. Yeah. It's not too bad, I think, once you get used to it. I'll probably have to refresh. I'll probably get lost with it a little bit. It's been many months since I've worked with it, but it's one of those things where it's like you do it once, then it comes back faster the next time and comes back faster the next time. But yeah, just to visualize what's happening, I think that tends to throw people off. But yeah, we're learning it. What's up, Elliot? Is there any platform like this for free? This is actually free. The content itself is free. A platform that's this interactive for free, I have not come across one. So again, you're paying for the interactivity and the RPG element. If you just want the content for free, you just want to read it, it's free. What chapter is this? Chapter 4 of Recursion. And the course is functional programming with Python.
Like the number that corresponds with the Bose key, 6, then we're going to stop recursing. So we'll just add this if statement that says, if D is not a valid dictionary, immediately return the max depth so far. Okay, now we need a recursive case. We need to figure out how to go from the top level dictionary to the next level nested dictionary, or dictionaries, because there can be multiple key value pairs. So first, we'll set a current max variable equal to the max depth so far. And the purpose of this variable will be to keep track of the max depth of all the nested dictionaries at this level. Next, we need to iterate over each potential dictionary at this level. In Python, there's a dot.
Gotcha. So we might have multiple, but why would that matter if we're just getting the max depth? Current max depth so far. I guess what are we gonna do with this? Because are we not just going to return +1 to the max depth so far? I don't know. Let's see.
And the purpose of this variable will be to keep track of the max depth of all the nested dictionaries at this level. Next, we need to iterate
all the nested dictionaries at this level. I'm assuming it's not the siblings that he's going to be talking about, right? But he's trying to track essentially how far with the nesting we currently are.
Over each potential dictionary at this level. In Python, there's a .values method that we can call on a dictionary object to get every value in that level of the dictionary. Now, at each key value pair, we'll recursively call dictdepth, but this time we'll only pass in that nested dictionary. So instead of passing in D, we're going to pass in V. We also need to increment the max depth so far by 1 because
depth of subdict equals dict depth. Wait, what is V? For V for value. Okay.
Because we're going one level deeper. Now, once that recursive call returns, it will return with the maximum depth of that sub-dictionary.
Okay.
So we should track that max depth, and at the end of the loop, if that max depth is the greatest of all the nested sub-dictionaries, that will be the one we'll return.
Okay.
Of all the nested sub-dictionaries, that will be the one we'll return. So with the first call to dict depth, we're going to pass in a dictionary, D. It has 3 layers. The first level has melee weapons as a key, which corresponds to a single dictionary. It's the only key at the top level. The second level has 2 keys, stabbies, which corresponds to a 3rd dictionary, and bows, which just corresponds to the number 6. Going down into that deepest level, we've got a dictionary with 2 keys again, spears and knives. Spears mapping to 4 and knives mapping to 3. We also pass in a max depth so far of 0, just because this is the first call. So what happens? Well, first, in this initial call to dict depth, the base case is going to be skipped because we've passed it a valid dictionary. Next, we'll set the current max to the max depth so far, which is 0. And that will be overridden within our loop if we find a recursive call that returns a greater number. Now we iterate over all the key value pairs in the dictionary, which in this case is just the melee weapons key. We enter the recursive call where we pass in the dictionary that corresponds with the melee weapons key, that subdictionary. We also increment the max depth so far to 1. Within that recursive call, again, D is a valid dictionary. We'll set the current max to 1, which is what the max depth so far was. Then we'll iterate over each key value pair again. This time there are 2. The stabbies key and the bows key. Because the stabbies key is first, we'll start there. We'll kick off another recursive call, this time passing in the dictionary associated with the stabbies key. We'll also increment the max depth so far to 2. We'll iterate over each key value pair. Again, there are 2, spears, 4, and knives, 3. Starting with the spears key, we move into another recursive call. This time, the value 4 is not a valid dictionary, so we trigger the base case and immediately return 3, which was the max depth so far that we passed in after incrementing it. Now we're back up a level after returning 3. We move on to the next key in the dictionary, the knives key. Again, it kicks off a recursive call. The max depth so far, again, is 3 because we've incremented it from its parent function where it was 2. Again, D is not a valid dictionary, so we'll immediately return 3. Now, back up again in that parent function. We've iterated over both key value pairs, and we're going to return the maximum of the 2 return values, which because they were both 3 is just 3. So that will return up the call stack again. Now we're back into the second call. There's another key for us to process, the bows key. That will kick off a recursive call. This time, D, again, is not a valid dictionary. It's just the value 6. So we'll return 2, because 2, again, is incremented from this call's parent function where it was 1. Now we've iterated over each key in the dictionary, the stabbies key and the bows key. The recursive call to the stabbies key returned to 3, while the recursive call to the bows key returned to 2.
It's like trusting this conditional to handle it when you just always call the function. I think is the part that just throws me off.
This call, which will return the maximum of the 2, will
when I try
return
to visualize it for
now
some
we're
reason,
back in the original function. We've iterated over all the keys, which in this case was just the melee weapons key and its associated dictionary, and we'll return 3, and the recursion is done.
Cool. All right. What's up, Blinner? How's it going? Nice. I remember this course. The pain is real for me. For me, at least, this feels like PTSD. What's up, Unstructured? Yeah. Recursion always trips me up. I'm sure it's going to trip me up again. But it always comes back a little bit faster each time. But yeah, recursion's a tough one. Example of recursion. If you thought loops were the only way to iterate over a list, you were wrong. Recursion is fundamental to functional programming because it's how we iterate over lists while avoiding stateful loops. Take a look at this function that sums the numbers in a list. If linked, nums equals 0, return 0, otherwise return nums 0 plus some nums where we pass in, nums, and I think that's a slice of these values. Where it'll, hold on, let me grab this. Starting from index 1. Okay, I just wanted to make sure I had that right. Don't break your brain on the example above. Let's break it down step by step. solve a small problem. Our goal is to sum all the numbers in a list, but we're not allowed to loop. So we start by solving the smallest possible problem, summing the first number in the list with the rest of the list. Recurse. So what actually happens when we call sum? We're just calling some nums with a smaller list. In the first call, the nums input was, I'm just reading above. Okay, so we're always grabbing the first index and we're just trimming it. Okay, I get it. In the first call, the nums input was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but in the next call, it's just 2, 3, 4, 5. We just keep calling sums nums with smaller and smaller lists. Let me put the music back on. The base case. What happens when we get to the end? Some nums is called, but nums is an empty list because we ran out of numbers. We need to write a base case to stop the madness. Base case is a recursive. Base case of a recursive function is a part of the function that does not call itself. That's a good description for it. Okay, so doc can automatically generate various layouts for a page. There are a lot of possible layouts, so we need a factorial function to calculate the total number of possible layouts. Complete the factorial R function. It should recursively calculate the factorial of a number. Factorial is the product of all positive integers less than or equal to the number. For example, 5 is 5 times 4 times 3 times 2 times 1, which is 120. Okay, perfect. All right, I'm going to go ahead and put this do not code or help me out until I finish each challenge. Because I do feel like this is going to challenge me a bit more as we go through all of this, and I think this is a really good review for me. And how the hell do I... Oh, I can't pin it because we have community challenge started. Well, I can do it on YouTube. Okay. Can I really not pin my own comment? Wait, I don't have... Oh, yeah, I do. I have access to... I have moderation access. Okay, it just won't give me the option. That's really weird. Give me the option. I don't care. Refresh. Reload. It still won't give me the option. That's crazy. Okay. Yeah, it's pinned on YouTube, not on Twitch. I think it's because of the community event thing. Let me just double check, just so I can learn a little bit more about Twitch. Let me refresh entirely. Let me do this. Okay, the reply button is in the way, so I can't... Oh my god, Twitch. Okay, I'm gonna do it one more time. Pin. Do not backseat code. There we go. I feel like the UX on Twitch is getting a little bit worse. All right, there we go. Let's pop out chat. Put chat there. Perfect. All right, cool. Assignment. So factorial. All right, so if x 0, then we just return one. I think so. We return fact of x minus 1. And we just want to keep decreasing it. Once it hits 0, we return 1 for that function, which is just going to... I don't think this... I mean, no. I think it's x times factorial 1. Yeah, Blinter, we're just going to focus on this problem right now. We got a course, and I trust the course. It's a pretty good course. I need to start studying DP again. What's DP? Cool. All right, makes sense. Recursion review. Your party enters the tavern. I gather everyone around a table. I have the elves start whittling dice and get out some parchment for character sheets. Hey, no recursing. Okay. I hate explaining jokes, but in case you don't get the comic, joke is that the characters within the Dungeons & Dragons game are also playing their own Dungeons & Dragons game. Maybe their character's game of D&D also has characters playing D&D, and so on, recursively forever. I like that. It's kind of a good joke. It's kind of a good joke. Another example. Print chars word if I equals length of the word, print characters, return. Okay. Yeah, we can't slice this necessarily. So word with the index adding to 1. So the length of word exists, just return. We're not... So we're just printing. That's why we're just returning. Okay. Makes sense. What happens if a recursive function has no base case? It will keep calling itself forever. Let's go. Google search recursion is an inside joke. I remember that Google did implement that. That was pretty good. Yep. All right, let's move on. What is printed if I call print chars elephant 3? I mean, we just... I mean, it is... No, we just start at this, right? 0, 1, 2, 3, LO? No, I'm way off. Oh, elephant. All right, 0, 1, 2, 3, fint. Let's go. An ad already in 55 seconds. Haunts Witch Author. Damn, I gotta enlarge the Twitch chat a little bit. Why is it so... Like 15 pop-ups that just push all the chat. Hey, what's up, Jen? I'm doing pretty good. How are you doing? Oh, was it a multiple choice? Really? I missed that. There are a lot of really good multiple choice things that like are obvious bad ones, but I do think it keeps it fun. By the way, happy Monday. Hope your weeks are going to go well, or your week is going to go well. Do you think it's still viable to learn Java with Spring in 2025 to get a backend job? I don't know the Java world, but I would be very surprising if that wasn't the case. I would be very surprising. I'd be very surprised. I mean, Java, yes, Java's still very, very popular. Spring is still very popular, but it depends on the area. But you gotta do a bit of research for job postings in the tech city that you're going to be applying to for sure. But there, I wouldn't even take my recommendation for that. Like, just look at data and do your own research with that. I'm making an assumption, and I haven't looked at Java with Spring in terms of marketability. Yeah, there are a lot of Java positions. There are a lot of Java. Zipmap. Let's practice another simple recursive function. You may not understand recursion just yet, but by following the instructions, you will begin to grasp the fundamentals. Within doc-to-doc, we need to map certain properties from one document to properties of another document. I don't know why I hate this zipmap thing so much. I hated it when we did it before. It takes two lists as an input and returns a dictionary, where the first list provides the keys and the second list provides the values. Zipmap, and that's an actual thing in Python. I mean, it's a convenient method for sure. Here's a pseudocode. If either the keys or the values list is empty, return an empty dictionary. Recursively call zipmap on all but the first elements from keys and values. Add the first elements of keys to the resulting dictionary. So are we recreating it? Complete the recursive zipmap function. Yeah, we're recreating zipmap. Oh, and then it just shows, okay, zipmap might not be a Python thing. Takes two lists as input and returns a dictionary where the first list provides the keys and the second list provides the values. All right. So we look for either list. So we can automatically just have our opt-out function here if length of keys equals 0 or length of values equals 0, then just return the updated dictionary. We still want to add it. So we just respect the order that we're given. We don't need to sort it. But we'll come back to this. Go is becoming more popular too. My friend who works at Amex says a lot of new systems are being written in Go. Been learning Go and it's been great. Yeah, it's becoming a little bit more popular, not for new developers. Definitely for more experienced developers. It's not that you can't get a position in Go as a new developer, but it's going to be extremely, I would say extremely, it's going to be very difficult. But it is becoming a little bit more popular among experienced developers. This is true. All right. Let's do this. So I don't know how to do this in Python. Keys. Like essentially we need to do this. Values. Or no, that yeah. 0. I don't how do I do this? I think it'd be something like, because I don't think you can spread it like in JavaScript. I'm gonna call it zip dict. And then keys values. And then we're gonna do something like zip dict. I don't think this is gonna work. This isn't gonna work. I'm gonna type it out anyways. Just get through my thought. No, it's gonna be 1. This isn't gonna work because we are gonna get some nested object here. We're not. What actually is the key error? None. Meaning we probably have none for the key. Um, if length of keys equals 0 or length of values equals 0, return. I mean, like, it's not gonna work with this, obviously, but what do we even return? What am I doing here? So zip dict equals, I don't even know what this line is doing. So we set the first one. I wonder if Python does have like a spread operator. I forgot if it does. I almost like using, like the idea of using reduce for this. Is there any other way to do it without using reduce? No, I think we have to. Let me just try it. Refresh with reduce in Python. So we can use the spread operator. So you can do it for arrays. I don't know if you can do it for dictionary. You can. So I'll have to make sure I get the syntax correct. But what if we do this? And then zip map. And then, yeah, we'll just take this whole thing. So if we could just spread, I hope. No. So we have to do something here. Can we just return an empty object? There we go. Okay. Let me know if you guys would do it any differently. I feel like that's a little bit cleaner than doing a reduce. Simpler, too. I'm like, I want to just spread it. I can do this in JavaScript. How do we do this in Python? I like it. Oh boy, recursion is going to stretch our brain for sure. I do feel like Python syntax, I'm not forgetting as much anymore. And it just takes a lot of repetition because I'm not applying it. And I do think that's kind of a deficit to this course. I think to get to maybe lane once a good amount of depth with the foundation before you start building any sort of personal project. But I don't know. I guess it's kind of working because I only do this once a week. And I am starting to remember syntax that I've used quite a bit. The spread thing, I don't even know if I've done that before. Maybe once. But Yeah. Python, it's a really readable language. I like how readable it is. All right, let's go on to the next one. How long has it been? My horse is amazing. Now notification sounds are working. You know what I want to do? I want to change notification sounds to a bunch of game sounds. I have it on my list. I have no date for it, though. But I want to switch up the notification sounds. Because, like, the follow is kind of unique. The sub is kind of unique, but there are a lot of others that aren't. And Cookin. BK, thanks for the follow. Welcome. All right, we have been going for about 52 minutes. I guess we can continue going for one more problem. Consider the following function. Define countdown. N equals 0, return, else countdown n minus 1. Which line contains the base case? Which line contains the recursive call? What would happen if we swapped countdown n minus 1 with countdown n? I like that it's introducing this question. This is a good question to see if you understand it. What would happen if you swap countdown n minus 1 with n? Countdown n for n, it would just infinite. We never get to the base case. Nested sum. Recursion is hard for all new developers. If you're struggling, that's okay. Take your time. That's why we're doing a few extra practice problems. I do like that he's kind of just like, again, like every lesson is like, yeah, it's hard. It's hard. I think it's a really good thing to remind people of. Assignment in doc-to-doc, users can process files or entire directories. We need to know the total size of those files and directories, measured in bytes. Due to the nested nature of directories, we represent a root directory as a list of lists. Okay, each list represents a directory, and each number represents the size of a file in that directory. For example, here's a directory that contains 2 files at the root level, then a nested directory within its own 2 files. Here's a more complex example, cool, which would be represented as this. Yep. Complete the sum nested list function. It takes a nested list of integers as input and should return the total size of all files in that list. It's a recursive function. Here's some pseudocode to help you get started. Create an integer. Nah, I'm not going to look at the pseudocode. We're just going to do it. We'll look at it if we need it. So, if so we're going to pass in LST if instance of integer, instance of number, basically if if it is a number, we just return the number. That's what we do. Look at my horse is amazing. HTML Beyond, thanks for the follow, man. Welcome. Python instance of int. That's what I want. That we just return LST. Oop, that's JavaScript. Otherwise, how do we do this? So if we have like a number and a list, I think we want to have like a sum. What's up, Cookin? What made you want to learn Python? I just want to explore different languages. I spent a lot of time with JavaScript, and I spent a lot of time with JavaScript on the front end. I'm kind of diving into the back end. And we're just going through the entire Boot.dev curriculum, which is going to go over Python, C, Go, and it even has a TypeScript section. I don't know if I'm going to dive into that. But they are an affiliate partner, so we're kind of just going through the entire curriculum to see how it is. Because if I'm going to be promoting it, which it has a really good reputation, but if I'm going to be promoting it, I want to know its pros and cons. Like I did it for Scrimpa. I went through the entire thing, and I know its pros and cons throughout, so I like to know, like to really know who I'm partnering with. If instance of return list. What are we doing? We got to loop through. So we need like a sum. Let's do like a total or accumulated size equals if list. Well, I mean, if list is a number, if it's an array, we're going to start with 0. And we're just going to, okay, I think we're okay. Because we don't currently have the number. We're not passing it through to each. So we are going to start it at 0. For size in list, if size, I mean, it's like for, I want to do item. If item of item is int, then accumulated size plus equals item. Else if elif, right? Elif, that's what it is in Python. Else if instance of item list, then accumulate size. I mean, I guess, well, we got to call the function, so whatever. We'll do item. Oh, sorry. Some nested list, and we toss an item. And then return accumulated size. Let's see if that works. New. Where is that? If ins, oh. Okay. Oh, is instance. I want to see the solution for this one. And guys, I really appreciate you not backseat coding. I know it's tempting, but this is just one of those sections where like it's such a good idea that I'm refreshing on. And it really helps for me to just struggle through it if I'm struggling, you know? How are you liking Python compared to JavaScript? I started with front end and decided to learn back end. I like Python way more. Do you? What do you like about Python more? For me, I think it's cleaner to read. I think it's just more readable. Python is more readable. That's one thing I like about it. It's just readable. It's simple to read. That's it. I think it has some convenient methods built in that JavaScript doesn't have. I don't like that we gain access to things that I would expect to be locked in more narrow scope. Like, you know, a variable that you create in a for loop, right? I believe that is something that you can access outside of the for loop. I don't like that. So there's a difference in scope, and that bothers me. I think that's the main thing. I don't know if I really strongly dislike anything else in Python. That's the main thing I like about it. It's readable, can do a lot with it too. You can, yeah. There's so many good so many libraries with Python, especially around stat stuff. I haven't gotten into the AI portion of it, but yes, it's just very readable. I do like reading Python. Python only just added their switch case in 3.9 called match. Really? That's all right. I'll be honest, I never really cared for switch in JavaScript, so I don't know if I'll ever use it. It's structural pattern matching, not a switch statement. What do you mean by structural pattern matching? Hello from Romania. Smart developer. I appreciate and respect you. Keep up the good work. Well, I appreciate that, Zoobook. Hope you're doing well. But the case is similar, otherwise would have a bunch of if-elif. What is structural pattern matching specifically? I know what pattern matching is, but what is structural pattern matching? Like, are you literally talking about like the structure of the object? Of the value? Or are you just talking about like where patterns can include literals, variables, wildcards, and more complex structures like sequences? Really? Dictionaries? Custom class instances? What it means is the case can destructure, assert the structure of what is being matched, and bind variables inside that structure. Not sure if that's gonna make more sense. I think it kind of does. I think it kind of does. And I'm looking at an example too, right before I read that. That's interesting. That feels more useful than switching JavaScript. Like, this is what I mean. I do feel like Python just provides more built-in functions that are probably optimized, right? Like, think about all the JavaScript libraries that are built to provide little extra conveniences that aren't even really optimized, but that have a shitload of downloads. I do also like that about Python. I hope non-codes gets non-bot to a good place. I really want a bot that you could spend points. And by the way, I'm wondering, has anyone dedicated any points towards the goal? I don't even know where to see the goal. Let me see if I could see it on my page real quick. We have a community goal. Where is it not on the page? How are you guys supposed to know about it? Oh, you got to go to the points section. No, it doesn't even say it there. Oh, 0% raised. Oh, okay. Yeah, you need examples to see what's going on for sure. It's much more useful. Yeah. Yeah, for me, it very much helps to see the examples, but that does seem a lot more useful. Yeah, I don't think I have a command like that set up. Sorry, Bria. All right. Let's move on. Oh, I want to see the solution for this. Oh, I guess we are I mean, we can what is this doing? It's just a total. Oh, but wait, what? For element in LST, if instance of is a list. Oh, we just assume it's a number. I mean, okay. We're literally just checking. We're already checking this. Yeah, that's a good point. I don't like the else. I'd rather be a little bit safe with the. But I mean, what else are we gonna do? Unless we want to check every single type. Yeah, this is extra. This isn't needed. Okay, cool. Yeah, zoo book, that's a really weird thing to say. I don't. You've already been timed out before? What were you timed out for? I I don't know. I guess like I'm just gonna assume you were timed out for 10 minutes. We'll time you out for a day, but like what the fuck? There we go. Now it's giving me. We'll do 24 hours. Yeah, chill out with that. That's weird. I don't know why you're talking about that. ~1 ads. Oh, did you have to type /? Or does the exclamation mark work? I've been here since 2020, but I think this is the first time I've chatted. Damn, you are a long-time lurker. What the hell? No, this isn't the first time. No, you chatted in 2020. Well, I appreciate you saying hi. I do like lurkers that say hi, and then they, even if you lurk for a few years, that's pretty cool. How the hell do I close this? Oh my god, Twitch. Okay, there. We get all the 2020 lurkers. Yeah, for some reason, that's when I quit my dev job. Maybe we got a bunch of people here then. I don't know. We started doing the coding bootcamp reviews around then, right? So that's when, yeah, we got a bunch of follows. I could see that. Typical Bria. Probably said hi and stayed quiet. So kind of. Yeah, there was a little bit of a chat, a little bit of a back and forth. What's up, Canadian? Canadian. Oh, Canadian's not even following. Unbelievable. Wait, account created. Canadian's not even following, but he has 847 messages here. How did you know I was live? What? All right, cool. We move on. Let's see. Recursion is so dang useful with tree-like structures because we don't always know how deep they're nested. Stop and think about how you would write nested loops to traverse a tree of arbitrary depth. It's not easy, is it? Do you mean like without recursion? I most often use recursion on tree-like problems, file systems, nested dictionaries, etc. If I'm just iterating over a one-dimensional list, then a loop is typically simpler, even if it's not as pure in the academic sense. Remember, the rules of functional programming are just philosophies to help you write better code, but it's not always the right tool for the job. The same goes for any programming paradigm. What makes it hard to loop over a tree? You don't know the depth of the tree. Yep. You don't know the breadth. No, don't care about that. Trees have... Trees have too many items in the initial list. Cool. I used to follow way back, then I took a long break from Twitch. Ah, I gotcha. Sometimes come on and just pop through text streams. Ah, cool. Okay. You have a lot of messages. That's a lot of messages. I'll go through and I'll clear my follow list out too. Like, there are people that I like that I just don't... I get tired of watching. Like, I'm not really in the season of watching them. And so I'll unfollow them. Now, it becomes a problem when I'm, like, kind of friends with them and I don't want to see their content. It's that awkward conversation. Wait, I thought you were followed. Oh. Yeah, I don't know. Are you sure? But I feel like I follow a lot of streams already, and I don't know. I just want stuff to pop up that I know I'm going to want to watch, you know? Imperative loops are allowed in purely functional code. Imperative. What does imperative mean? Imperative loops are allowed in purely functional code. Probably true. What are imperative loops? Just loops. They're based on a condition. They're just loops. No, imperative loops are allowed in purely functional? I did not know like purely functional code would disallow them. What, like, is an imperative loop, maybe you guys would know, is an imperative loop just a loop? Like, it's just based on a conditional and then it keeps going? This is such an odd question. Well, it's good to know, like, if, like, functional programming discourages loops or not. Obviously, in your code, it doesn't mean you have to go purely functional all the time. It's always going to be a mix, but imperative. I've never heard of the word imperative before. Oh, imperative is a style of programming. Interesting. That could be the case. That sounds right. It's an odd and unnecessary question. What do you think is odd about it? Is it the word imperative? Because I really like this. Loops are allowed in purely functional code. I care about the philosophy behind functional programming. I want to know pros and cons of it. I think that's like good to go over. Do you think like this question is a bad question or the word imperative included? Because it's knowledge that has no really application in real life. I think it does, though. Sometimes you get like really functional, like you get a programming language that really encourages functional programming. I don't think JavaScript is that. JavaScript is a bit of a hybrid. But there, correct me if I'm wrong, there are languages that like really encourage purely functional code that might discourage loops, and I think that's relevant. But I think the reason is because purely functional languages don't allow state mutation. A loop is inherently mutation, but could be wrong. Feel it's unnecessary because there's no situation where you would need to know this difference. What about the scenario I just gave? Well, if it really encourages functional programming, it would literally not have a loop construct. Exactly. Yeah. I think that applies. I don't think that I don't think that goes against what I just said, though. So it encouraging purely functional programming doesn't necessarily mean it needs to enforce it either. I think some languages try to make it a little bit more adaptable to more situations to gain adoption of that language. I think that's a thing, but it could still really conventionally encourage. Doesn't enforce it, then there's no merit to not using a loop. And if it does enforce it, so I agree, Python is definitely not a functional programming language. It's not language idiomatic. Here's what we're going to do. So what about the situation in which I said there might be programming languages that are just purely functional programming languages? I think being aware that there is something like that, I think is relevant. I think you're not even trying to steel man the argument in terms of it being useful at all. So specifically, like, let's give the scenario in which it's just a programming language that's a purely functional programming language. You don't think it's relevant in that situation? But then this question should explain why, and it doesn't. Actually, yeah, good point. What do you think the difference is between functional programming in general and purely functional programming? In purely functional programming, we have some strict rules. One of the main principles is avoiding side effects and mutable state. Now think about a typical imperative loop like this. So I actually like this, and I don't think it needs to explain it in the question. You're also making the assumption that this hasn't been talked about in the curriculum as well. What's happening to the total variable in each iteration? Is it staying the same, or is it being modified? This kind of state mutation goes against the core principles of purely functional programming, where we prefer immutable data and functions that don't change existing values. Can you see why imperative loops would conflict with a purely functional approach? So I get that, and talking about immutability. I think that's fair. What do you guys think? It's very possible they talked about it in the curriculum. And I'm personally just forgetting. But the word imperative is just, it felt new to me. But I don't even think imperative was the gripe you had anyways. I like the explain. I think that's great. Like, if you're like, why? I think the explain did a really good job with this. I can't connect this information with a situation that I've dealt with. I'm not saying it's wrong, though. I mean, can you honestly say there are no frameworks or languages that really are built around the philosophy around, like, trying to be a purely functional programming language? I mean, there are libraries that literally try to enforce a state in JavaScript. And I think it takes, like, a purely functional approach. I think being aware of how this is categorized, I think, is helpful. But I think the more important knowledge here is that functional programming languages prohibit mutability, and a loop implies mutation, not that a loop is banned in functional programming. I don't think immutability is a thing to harp on right now. I think you can teach concepts at a beginner level that doesn't need to give very specific examples right now. I think good courses will build on that. They'll kind of like sprinkle little seeds in your mind and then expand later. I think that's a totally viable way to create a course. Like me personally, I like connecting it a little bit more, but I do think there's value in putting that seed initially in and allowing that to expand later. Maybe it should also show you how you might do this in a purely functional language with map. We've already gone over that, though. Yeah, we finished all that. I think you guys maybe are just missing context. I mean, we kind of just did this with recursion, did we not? The information is correct. Go look at a purely functional language like Haskell. It just doesn't have loops. I've never looked at Haskell. I think this is a wrong seed if they haven't addressed mutability, but it's up for debate. They brought it up. I don't remember in what depth they went into it. It's definitely been brought up in the past, but even I would have to go back. I think one tricky thing is I take such long breaks from this curriculum, and then like this is probably meant to just continue doing like 3 times a week minimum. And I do take long breaks from it as well. Okay. All right. Well, hey, thanks for the perspective. I think imperative is the only thing that threw me off, but cool. Let's move on. Recursion review. Recursion is so dang useful with tree-like structures because we don't always know how deep they're nested. Stop and think about how you would... Am I just reading? See, I'm just reading the same thing. Loops are used often by good programmers, even though they break the academic rules of functional programming. I like this line, this sequence of questions. Right? I actually think this is great. Loops are used often by good programmers, even though they break the academic rules of functional programming. And you almost have to think about, like... So this is kind of like... I think this curriculum is kind of trying to be a little bit of a hybrid between CS and a self-taught curriculum. And I think... you are going to go over these paradigms. You are going to go over stuff like this in a CS program. I think it just kind of like sprinkles in little by little by little these concepts. Like loops aren't special. Loops being allowed or not allowed isn't something about loops. It's just because a loop reassigns a variable. I'm not sure what the relevance of that is. This definitely gets into CS theory and out of the day-to-day application. I don't think it has to be day-to-day application. And you're right. I don't think it has to be, though. I don't think a course that is meant to supplement a little bit of CS theory should purely focus on day-to-day application. I don't think that's a good course at all. Yeah. All right, let's move on. Recursion on a tree. How much do we have to do? We got a few more problems. I might continue this. I think I'm going to continue this next week. The thing is I have stuff to do. Let me think. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take a little bit of a break. It'd be nice, honestly. Functional transformations. Closure. Wow, these are really small sections. Curing, decorators. Some types. Let me take like a 5-minute break. And I'm going to decide what to do from here. Because either I'm going to continue this and finish recursion, or I am going to move into working a little bit on the Nest course. Because, like, I've underestimated the amount of time that it's going to take to get this curriculum done for it. And I'm almost there. Yeah, Curing. I don't even know if I say it right, but Curing. We are actually at the end of this. Let me look at courses real quick. Let's look at the curriculum. We're getting closer to the DSA section. Damn, I'm actually looking forward to that. I think we're gonna really try to push through this and do like full 2.5, 3 hour sessions, maybe. Uncle Donnie, that's weird. That's not my name. That's a really weird message. I'm just gonna time you out for 10 minutes. All right, so I'm gonna be right back. Give me 5 minutes. I'm gonna grab some water too, and then I'll decide what I'm gonna do. All right, be right back. Yo, we're back. Moneyballin', this is actually a pretty good song. I like it. So I think I'm ready to finally start pushing myself to getting up to a 5K. I'm about half that at least, but I want to start pushing myself to each week just running a little bit longer because I feel like I have a lot of fun with running once I get to about that level. And then before that, I'm kind of just forcing myself through something that I'm like, it's good for me. And I don't run long distances, so it's not like I'm completely tearing my knees down. So I want to get to a point where I start enjoying running. And I'm I kind of enjoy it, but I know I really enjoy it once I start trying to beat my time. So I hate Twitch ads. Another ad is going to pop up in like 50 seconds. I kind of want to continue this. I'm thinking almost like maybe around 8 p.m. Central, we play World of Warcraft. So I want to keep going with this a little bit and then work on the Nest course just a little bit. And then, yeah, we'll do that. Running once you get to the point where it feels comfortable rather than hard is amazing. Yeah. I used to run a lot. And it wasn't long distances. Like, I don't think I've ever jogged more than 5 miles. 5 miles is definitely in the higher end of what I could do. But yeah, it does. It feels really good. I don't really like the elliptical. I like Stairmaster, but I like swimming. But a lot of cardio, it's like I usually would just rotate between running and swimming, and I like those. And then like lifting heavy will get your heart rate up, but it's still not the same. I don't know. I'm ready. Start working out a bunch. I used to run 12 kilometers 3 times a week, then messed up my knees, so can't. That's what I'm worried about. Honestly, that's exactly what I'm worried about. Armada Zinka. Oh, well, an ad started, so I'm just going to jump into this, and then I'll answer, or I'll respond to that. Yep, ads. I am trying to pay attention to when the ads pop on. We should accept a quest. Still got 4 left. I'm going to wait for the ad, then I'm going to respond, then I'm going to look at this lesson. I think at 7, I'll eat. No matter where I'm at. Hopefully I get to work on this a little bit. Or the Nest course. All right. But yeah, the 12 kilometers 3 times a week is what I'm worried about. I don't want to screw up my knees. That's definitely what I'm worried about. Zinka runs a bunch. I'm wondering when her knees are going to go out. Some people's, they don't. I don't know. But I don't want to run that much. Stairmaster kills me every time. I also hate cardio. I only do kickboxing or dancing for my cardio. Lift heavy otherwise. Kickboxing or dancing. Like doing an activity like that with cardio is awesome. Like I love tennis. I'm a big fan of tennis. Normally at the gym when I'm listening in. Oh, really? That's pretty cool. Nice. Hell yeah. What do you usually do in the gym, Money? It wasn't the running volume? Okay, it was mountaineering with a heavy pick. Ah, gotcha. So a lot of weight. Okay. Oof. You won't catch this girl running? Nope. I don't know. I like running. Um, shit, I haven't done any sort of training like kickboxing or jiu-jitsu in a long time. It's been a very long time. I keep saying I want to go get back into jiu-jitsu because I only spent 3 months in it, but I really enjoyed it. But I'm really focused on just losing weight. That's my main thing. So I don't know. Like with an increased weight, I don't know if I want to even risk jiu-jitsu. I might get into it later, but other than that, like I don't want to get hit in the head. So kickboxing is kind of out. I'd really, really want to get into jiu-jitsu, like spend years with it. But we'll see. I don't know. Weight loss is the first thing. But yeah, I totally get like wanting to do an activity that's cardio based and just having fun with it because it makes you kind of forget that you're doing cardio. Today's pool day, back and biceps. Gotcha, really? Okay. Back and biceps. I think I ditched biceps. I ditched triceps and biceps. But I'm not heavy into it. But I feel like I used to hyper focus on that all the time, and I had really big arms, and I had a really unstable core. So me personally, I don't really isolate those exercises. Yeah, walking is good. Did BJJ for 6 months, got out of it because had to start working. Working later. I miss it. Yeah. And just the camaraderie with BJJ is excellent. It's like most of my friends came from like training with them. Like you go to a gym like that, you get all sorts of types, all different personalities, but people that just want to put in the work and humble themselves, and like you make really good friendships there. I've also believed compound exercises over isolation unless trying to address imbalances. Yeah, that's kind of my belief. But like, and I more strongly believe that and money doesn't necessarily need to do that. But I know for me, a lot of my back problems came from major instability. I have a tilted pelvis forward, really weak glutes and hamstrings. Kind of tight hamstrings, but weak hamstrings as well. They're kind of like shortened. I need to lengthen them more specifically. But that came from a muscle imbalance. I never did squats. I never did deadlifts. I did a lot of bench and a lot of pull-ups. But I kind of just did standard lifts to kind of show off. I never really built up a strong core. And then I just sat in a computer chair my whole life. I program, I game. Even when I was growing up, I'd play World of Warcraft all the time. And I'd go out, but I would put a lot of hours into it. So eventually just built up to a really bad imbalance. So I'm all about stability and compound exercises and core lifts now. Recursion is often used in tree-like structures, for example, nested dictionaries, file systems, HTML documents, and JSON objects. That's because trees can have unknown depth. It's hard to write a series of loops because you don't know how many levels deep the tree goes. Assignment, you're responsible for a module in doc-to-doc that can scan a file system, represented in our code as nested dictionaries, and create a list of file names. Complete the recursive list files function. It accepts two arguments, a parent directory, a dictionaries representing the current directory, a child directory's value. A child directory's value is a dictionary and a file's value is none. Well, I gotta read this. I'm not even paying attention. Okay, so it's just a file system. It should return a list of all file paths in the parent directory. So it's going to be in a list. Parent directory, a dictionary of dictionaries representing the current directory. A child directory's value is a dictionary, and a file's value is none. What do you mean a file's value? A string representing the current path, current file path. Okay. So we have to end the value in the array. So that's fine. Okay, yeah, I think that's fine. All right, I got it. What's up, Tink? How's it going? Ha! The what is this? This is Oblivion soundtrack is so perfect for Boot.dev. It fits the theme so well. All good. What about you? I'm chilling. Went for a jog before this. I'm feeling really good. Feeling really good. So I'm not gonna go through the steps. I want to try to avoid that. I get it. So we have a parent directory, and a current file path. So we're at the root right now. We're just gonna concatenate, right? So if parent directory is instance of string, that's not going to be str, turn. Let's just do that for now. We might clear that out later. We need to loop through the parent directory and decide, like, is this going to, what are we getting? Parent directory. Is this going to be a dictionary, or is this going to be a string, right? And a file's value is none. What the hell? Okay, so we could check for none. I mean, if we're a current path, how, you know what I want to do real quick? Print parent directory and current file path. Is the site free? The content is, the interactivity in it, and the RPG elements aren't. I see. Okay. Oh yeah, this song takes forever to end. Hold on. There we go. Okay. Cool. I mean, we're never going to call list files on a file, we just plop that into the array. I think we can get away with that. Okay. So I don't know if we're going to be checking for a string or not. Let me just write the code, I think. For item in parent directory, not JavaScript, if is instance we are just going to return, we're going to add to our array, our list, all files. I don't even, Python append. Gotcha. Okay, so it is just all files that append, I believe. I'm wondering why it's not auto filling, but we're just going to do this. I don't think this is going to work. What needs to be returned? We're kind of just accumulating a string up. If it's a dictionary, no matter what, we're always accumulating a string. Let me just think for a second. Okay. I think I got it. Okay. Somewhat. I half have it. Let me start with this. If instance of like item is a string, we're gonna go ahead and append current file path plus just item. So I think no matter what, even when we, so in the for loop, sorry, not in the for loop, but no matter what, we're returning all files. We're always returning an array. And I don't think our opt-out is going to be here. I think it's going to be in our loop. And we're only ever going to call it if we've detected a dictionary. What's up, Turtle? How's it going? Yeah. All right, so all files dot append, and we're gonna toss in item, and then current file path. What am I doing here? I think this isn't going to work because we're still going to need to... let me just try this. File path name. I don't even think we're updating current file path correctly. All right, but anyways, list files. Let me just try this. Okay. We never actually build up the path. Do we not? This doesn't work. I'll keep thinking through it. Let me go through the logic of it. Like I kind of get why it's not working, but I think it's gonna just help to go through each value that's gonna be produced. So if instance of, if we have a string, if we have a string, we're appending that to all files because we're at the end. We're just putting that key in. If we have a dictionary, we call this with the current item, we pass in current path plus / and the current path needs to be the key. Plus item. Return all files. All right. We don't need to concatenate anything. We just continue building it up, and then we just return the entire current path. Um, I don't care about this. Damn, add again. It feels like we literally just had one. Maybe time is just going by quickly. I don't know. I think I'm just getting tired. I'm still gonna think through it. My brain just isn't working as well. The idea of walking through it is tiring. Wait, let me just speak out loud. Maybe that'll help connect my thoughts a bit more. The fact that, let me get rid of this. We're only getting one single print of documents and downloads. I'm very surprised. Current path. We never get the file. So the files are... That's weird to me. So we have documents, proposal. Am I... Like, the key is going to be this. Right? Let me just print item here. I'm very surprised we're not getting the file names. We have documents and downloads. It's always going to be... I gotcha. Got it. Okay. We should be checking the item itself. I was assuming for some reason that the key would be a dictionary. And I literally think I just connected with like, oh, we should check the keys. And I was only doing it for once we get to the end with the file names. So is instance of item. So if this is none, append current file path plus / plus item. Else, if this is a dictionary. Append those files. We toss in the value of the item. Okay. I know I should create a variable at this point. I don't care. Let's print here. Let's see. Python is instance none. Let me look that up. Is none? It's a dictionary. We have to continue. Let me look at proposal report. We have to pass in the item if it's a dictionary. Must be a mapping, not a list. Because it could... How do we spread a list? Well, I mean, we just want concat, do we not? Is that a thing in Python? Oh, right, plus. Well, that's not gonna work. Extend. So we're not doing anything with that. I want to just edit all files directly. Okay. Documents, proposal, report. All right, looks good. Let's clean it up a little bit. You know what? I don't care. I'm just reusing the variable once. I don't care. All right, let me take a look at the solution. Okay. Pretty much exactly what they have. The only difference is creating a couple of variables. That's it. All right, oh man. I almost want to just like, I can feel my mind kind of melting a little bit. I think I'm going to call it there for the Python, and then we're going to jump into working on the outline for Nest a little bit. But that's a good amount of recursion. It'd be nice to be able to finish this, but I feel like I'm even going to go past 7 p.m. just finishing this. So I think I just finish it next week. It's cool. It's really cool to revisit recursion. And I would argue I haven't done enough recursion problems in the past. And I like that Lane is like pushing so many recursion problems on us. Just keep practicing in different contexts that are fairly relevant. These are things that you might go down. These are trees that you might have to deal with. But these, yeah, like I like this. This is good. All right. Let's go ahead. And I don't think I'm going to take a break. I think I'm going to just keep going for a little bit. But let's go ahead and load up Obsidian. And we'll close this. I never watched the video for this. What the? Zinka would love this. It's a bunch of furries. All right. Let's see. Open. All right, cool. All right, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm probably going to end the YouTube stream here. I'll keep it up. Like usual, I want to kind of just provide a history of me going through the entire program. So we'll keep these up on YouTube. But yeah. I am going to release a video on Wednesday. It's a reaction. I felt like I went pretty hard with it, and it needed to happen. So enjoy that. But outside of that, I don't know when I'm going to be live on YouTube. Usually every Monday, at least every Monday we go live. Sometimes we'll go live on Fridays for like a Q&A or whatever. But yeah, YouTube, I'm going to be on Twitch for a while longer. I'm probably going to play some World of Warcraft tonight. But yeah, I'm going to end the stream. But I'll be on Twitch. See you, YouTube.